The Fourth Way by P.D. Ouspensky. Chapter 2. Last time I explained the division of man into 7 categories. This division, connected with the idea of man's possible evolution, gives a very good method of understanding the differences or divisions of many things. For instance, from the beginning, we take different manifestations of man in different fields of activity, in religion, science, art, and so on, and try to look at them from the point of view of this division into 7 categories. You will see at once that there are 7 categories of man. There must be correspondingly 7 categories of everything that belongs to man. We do not know about man number 5, 6, and 7, but we know the difference between man number 1, 2, and 3, and so we can easily understand that religion of man 1, number 1, whatever it may be called, will be primitive religion, simplified in all senses. Gods are simple, virtues are simple, and sins are simple. Everything is simple because man number 1 does not like to think much. Sentimental, emotional religion, full of illusions and imagination, will be the religion of man number 2. And religion composed of theories, words, and definitions for everything will be the religion of man number 3. These are the only kinds of religion we know. Although, if men of higher levels exist, there must also be a religion of man number 5, religion of man number 6, religion of man number 7. It is the same with art. There is art number 1, art number 2, art number 3, and we know nothing else. But there are some works of art remaining from very old days which evidently belong to people of higher consciousness. It actually says here, to men of higher consciousness. I guess my subconscious put in the word people instead, because of course I think women are included in this as well. But let me continue. If we find such works of art, we will see that we do not understand them. They are beyond our level. From this point of view, all ordinary art, art of man number 1, 2, and 3, is called subjective art, for it is based only on the subjective understanding or subjective feelings of things. In science, it's even easier to understand the difference. Certainly, science number 1, 2, and 3 is all we know. It uses man's present state of consciousness and present functions as an instrument for getting certain results. Science number 4 will begin with improvement of instruments. If you have to work in any particular branch of science, you have a certain instrument for this work and get certain results. But suppose you can have a better instrument, you will immediately get better results. So science number 4 is connected with improving the instrument of knowing, with improving man's functions and state of consciousness. And here we go into a Q&A part. And just remember that the questions are always put by Ouspensky and the answers are supplied by Gurdjieff. Question: can you tell us more what man number 1, 2, and 3 means? Answer: this refers to the center of gravity at moments of important decisions. Man number 3 would act from theory. Man number 2 on the basis of emotional likes and dislikes. Man number 1 on the basis of physical likes and dislikes. Question: to understand examples of conscious art, one must have knowledge that an average person has not got? Let me read that question again. To understand examples of conscious art, one must have knowledge that an average person has not got? Answer: not only knowledge, but knowledge and being. There are 2 sides of us which must be developed. In speaking about knowledge and being, it's necessary to start from the beginning. Try to think how you look at yourself. What is your attitude to those 2 ideas before you met the system? We have all we are all in the same position. We want knowledge, but we do not realize that there are obstacles in ourselves that prevent us from acquiring this knowledge. I will start with myself. Before I met the system, I read a great deal and made many experiments, and from these experiments, I got interesting states, understood several laws, and naturally wanted a continuation of these states. But I saw that for this more knowledge was necessary. Then I met the system. In the system, particular stress was laid on being. According to the system, no more knowledge is possible until one's being is changed. Soon after I heard about knowledge and being, our groups divided into two camps. The first camp thought the whole thing was change of being, that with a change of being we would get more knowledge than we already have. The second camp, to which I believe I alone belonged, said that even in our present state of being, we can get much more knowledge than we have, that we are not saturated with knowledge, that we cannot absorb more. Let me read that sentence again. It's kind of hard to understand, okay? The second camp, to which I believe I alone belonged, said that even in our present state of being, we can get much more knowledge than we have, that we are not so saturated with knowledge that we cannot absorb more. Later, I understood that both are necessary. Take an example of two men. One knows the 4 rules of arithmetic. The other does not. Naturally, the first will be in a better position, although their level of being is the same. The more a man knows about mathematics, the better is his position in a certain profession. So, knowledge can increase even with the same being. He may know more not only in mathematics, he may know many other things, have more psychological knowledge. On the other hand, you notice that you give 2 people knowledge, and I'm speaking here of psychological knowledge, and one gets it and the other cannot. Evidently, his being is not prepared. So people are not in the same position in this respect. The relationship of knowledge and being is a very big question. I want you to think about it and to follow what I have just said. Try to find your own examples. Knowledge can lead very far. The question is, can one take it? Can one absorb it? One kind of knowledge we can get, another kind we cannot. So we cannot speak in general about it. For instance, take psychological knowledge. Such as we are, we can learn very much, and certain things can become clearer. But every moment a man's knowledge depends on his being. This is what we do not understand. A man can get only as much knowledge as his being allows. Otherwise, his knowledge will just be words. If knowledge is given to several people, one of them gets it, others do not. Why? Evidently, because their being is different. Question. I do not understand clearly what being is. Answer. It is you, what you are. The more you know yourself, the more you know your being. If you have never learnt that you have being, the being of all people will be the same to you. Someone who has never heard of self-remembering, if you ask him, will say that he can remember himself. This is one being. Another knows he does not remember himself. This is a different being. A third is beginning to remember himself. This is a third being. This is how it must be taken. We understand the difference of objects, but in ordinary thinking we do not understand the difference of being. What do we learn in this system? First, we are not one, that we have many eyes. First, what do we learn in this system? First, that we are not one, that we have many eyes, that there is no central I in control. This is the state of our being. The result is mechanicalness. We are machines. If we manage to be less mechanical, less divided in ourselves, if we manage to have more control of ourselves, it will mean that our being has changed. When I first met the system, it showed me that change of being was necessary because we are not what we think ourselves to be. If we were what we think we are, if we had consciousness, will, if we could do, then only knowledge would be necessary. But we all think of ourselves differently from what we are in reality. It is exactly this difference between what we are and what we think we are that shows what is lacking in our being. So two things are necessary: change of knowledge and change of being.